Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge.
Bruh.
One of you reached out, wanted to cut through the noise and get, well, a clear understanding of what the reviews are really saying.
Yeah, there's always a lot flying around with a new launch.
Exactly. So we've got a detailed Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge review here as our main source, and our mission today is pretty simple. Pull out the essential insights about this new phone. Its standout features, but also the compromises it makes, so you can figure out if it might just be the right fit for you. Okay, let's dive in.
Right away, the design is making waves. This phone isn't just slim. We're talking 5.8 millimeter thin.
Oh, that is thin.
Yeah, and it weighs only 163 grams. It's actually the thinnest and lightest Galaxy S phone they've ever made. What's interesting is how the review focuses on how this feels, in your hand.
Right.
The priority seems to be all about portability and comfort.
Totally. And the review really drives this home by giving us comparisons. The S25 Ultra, that's a much chunkier 8.2 millimeters and 218 grams.
Big difference.
Yeah. And even the S25 Plus is, a bit more substantial at 7.3 millimeter, 190 grams. You definitely feel that difference carrying it around.
For sure.
And it's not just thinness. They've gone for premium materials, too, like a titanium frame and the latest Corning Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 on the front.
Invictus 2 on the back.
Yep. Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back. It's clearly aiming for that high-end premium feel.
And the IP68 rating for dust and water resistance is there, which, keeps it competitive with other flagships, gives you that peace of mind.
Right. Standard stuff now, almost.
But that push for thinness does lead to a couple of interesting trade-offs the review mentions. Unlike the Ultra, this one doesn't have an anti-reflective coating on the screen.
Ah, okay. So more glare?
Potentially, yeah. Especially in bright sunlight. Definitely something to think about if you use your phone outside a lot.
Good point. And the reviewer also flagged a couple of, minor fit and finish things. A SIM card slot that sticks out just a tiny bit. And a camera bump design that might, maybe, collect dust over time. Raises a little question about long-term durability there.
Those small details, yeah. They can sometimes add up.
They can. Oh, and colors are titanium silver, titanium jet black, and titanium icy blue. Sophisticated maybe, but the review sort of wish for more vibrant options.
Okay, let's shift to the display. Despite being so slim, the screen sounds like a real highlight here.
Seems like it.
You're looking at a 6.7-inch QHD plus dynamic AMOLED 2X display. Super smooth, 120 hertz adaptive refresh rate too. It actually matches the S25 Plus in size and sharpness.
The QHD plus resolution means it's really crisp, right? Lots of detail.
Exactly, about 519 pixels per inch. Very sharp.
And Samsung's using their HOP 3.0 tech, which is kind of like LTPO.
Right, it's their version. Basically, it lets the screen adjust the refresh rate on the fly, ramps it up when you need smoothness for scrolling, then dials it back down to save battery when things are static.
So it's trying to give you the best of both worlds, fluidity and power saving.
Precisely. And the brightness levels sound, seriously impressive.
Yeah.
The review mentions test results hitting almost 2,000 nits. Samsung even claims it can go up to 2,600 nits peak.
Wow. So outdoor viewing should be absolutely fine then.
Should be excellent, yeah. You get those vibrant Samsung colors, too, and wide viewing angles, typical of their AMOLEDs.
Okay. Any downsides on the display?
Well, minor things. The review notes it doesn't support Dolby Vision, and it's an 8-bit color depth panel.
Which means less smooth gradients compared to 10-bit.
Potentially, yeah. For most people, probably not a huge deal, but something videophiles might notice. And like we said, no anti-reflective coating, which is maybe a slight annoyance on an otherwise great screen.
Right, the glare thing again. Okay, let's talk power. Under the hood, the review highlights the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy chipset.
Yep, the top dog. Same one that's in the S25 Ultra.
So performance should be absolutely flagship level, right? For everyday stuff, demanding apps, even heady gaming.
It should definitely have the muscle. It's got those high clocked cores, 2 prime cores at 4.47 gigahertz, 6 performance cores at 3.53 gigahertz, plus 12 GB of RAM.
Solid specs, storage options?
256 GB or 512 GB, starting at $199.99 for the 256 GB.
Okay, so plenty of space.
Yeah. And to handle the heat from that powerful chip in such a thin body, they've put in a vapor chamber that's 15% larger than before.
Like a little cooling system.
Exactly. It helps dissipate heat. However, and this is pretty key, the review points out that during long, intense gaming sessions, it can still throttle.
Ah, So the thinness catches up with it.
It seems so.
Mhm.
Even with better cooling, the phone can get hot enough that the CPU and GPU have to slow down to avoid overheating. You might see performance drops, stuttering.
So if you're a serious marathon gamer, maybe not the ideal choice.
That's definitely a crucial thing to consider, yeah. A potential trade-off for that sleek design.
Makes sense. Software-wise, it's running Android 15 with Samsung's One UI 7.
Yep, latest stuff. And a big plus is the promise of 7 years of OS and security updates.
That's huge for longevity. Really good value there.
Absolutely. They've also got updated AI features like the multimodal AI agents using Google's Gemini. Lets you do things like point your camera at stuff to identify it.
Cool. Okay, let's pivot to the cameras. This is often where compromises happen in thin phones.
Right. And you see that here. To get that profile, Samsung went with a dual camera system. There's a high-res 200-megapixel main sensor.
Same as the Ultra.
Well, same megapixel count, but the review suggests it's not the exact same sensor component. And alongside that, there's a 12-megapixel ultra-wide. Good news is the ultra-wide has autofocus.
Oh, nice. So it can do macro shots.
Exactly, which is handy. The main camera, though, sounds like a strong point, captures detailed shots, has that typical vibrant Samsung look.
What about zoom?
Okay, so it offers a 2x optical quality zoom that's done using an in-sensor crop, basically using a smaller part of that big 200MP sensor.
So not a real separate zoom lens, but maybe pretty good quality.
Yeah, the review says it works well. There's also a 10x AI-enhanced digital zoom, but quality apparently drops off quite a bit beyond about 4x.
And the ultra wide. How does that hold up?
It's described as decent, but maybe a step down from the main sensor. Some occasional issues with detail or highlight clipping were mentioned.
Okay. But the big elephant in the room compared to the Ultra must be the lack of a dedicated telephoto, right?
Absolutely. That's the major difference. The S25 Ultra has that much more versatile quad setup, a 5x periscope zoom lens, and another 10MP telephoto. So the Edge just can't compete on zoom range or flexibility. If you take a lot of zoomed photos or want really good portrait separation from a distance, the Edge is limited there.
That's a really key distinction for anyone keen on photography. Software tricks like Samsung's Visual Engine can only do so much.
Exactly. It can enhance things, but it can't replace dedicated hardware for optical zoom.
Interesting side note, though, the review mentions some chatter on X, like posts claiming the S25 Edge might do better than the Ultra specifically at 4x zoom, maybe better algorithms.
Yeah, it mentions that, but stresses it's anecdotal, not widely confirmed, so more like an interesting observation than a proven fact. Take it with a grain of salt.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk battery life. Always crucial. The S25 Edge packs a 3,900 milliamp battery.
Which, as the review points out, is the smallest battery in the whole S25 lineup.
Another direct trade-off for being so thin.
Seems like it. And charging speeds reflect that too, maybe. It's 25W wired charging, 15W wireless, and a pretty slow 4.5W reverse wireless.
So no super fast 45W charging like the S25 Plus and Ultra get.
Nope, misses out on that. A full charge takes about 64 minutes compared to just under an hour for the S25 Plus with its 45W charger.
Okay, now this is where the review gets really interesting, almost contradictory it seems. PC Mag did an HD video streaming test over Wi-Fi, and the S25 Edge apparently lasted 16 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it actually beat the other S25 models in that specific test, despite having the smallest battery. S25 Plus, S25 Ultra, even the base S25 were all under 15 hours.
That is surprising. Maybe the display efficiency or modem is really optimized for that kind of task.
Could be. It still lags behind competitors like the latest iPhone Pro or Pixel Pro in that cast, but beating its siblings is unexpected.
Definitely a fascinating data point. Shows you can't judge just by battery size alone.
True. However, the review immediately follows that up by saying real-world usage reports paint a different picture.
Okay. More like what you'd expect.
Yeah, suggesting more typical, maybe even lackluster battery endurance compared to thicker phones with bigger batteries. It seems that while it might shine in a specific controlled test like video streaming,
Day-to-day use, mixing apps, camera, data might drain it faster.
Exactly. So for heavy users, that smaller battery is likely going to feel like a weak point. It might not consistently get you through a demanding day.
Right, that makes more sense in context. The video test is one thing, but all-day use is another beast entirely.
Okay, so let's pull it all together and talk about the overall value. Where does this phone sit? Pricing is between the S25 Plus and the Ultra. 10 up to $99.99 for 256 GB.
Yeah, it's positioned as this sort of unique option, isn't it? It's trying to give you flagship performance and that premium feel, but in this exceptionally slim and light package.
Appealing to people who really, really prioritize that design aspect, maybe above everything else.
I think that's the target, yeah. Its main strengths are clearly that design, the great display brightness and vibrancy, and the top-tier performance chip.
But the compromises are pretty clear, too.
Right.
Smaller battery, potentially hurting real-world use.
Right. No telephoto lens limiting the camera.
Lower charging speeds.
And that potential for thermal throttling under heavy load.
The review makes some useful comparisons within the family. For $100 more than the S25 Plus I, you get the titanium and the 200 MP main camera.
But you lose battery capacity in the telephoto lens. It's an interesting trade.
Yeah. And compared to the Ultra, you save $200, but you lose the S Pen, the bigger screen, and that much more capable camera system.
So Ultra still feels like the clear choice for, the power users, the camera fanatics.
Definitely. So the review kind of concludes that the S25 Edge feels like a more premium, maybe more stylish S25 Plus.
Yeah.
But its niche focus on thin and light might not be worth the price jump for everyone.
Yeah, especially when the S25 Plus offers a very similar core experience, better battery, and a telephoto for less money. The Edge is really for someone who specifically wants that ultra-slim form factor.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the pros the review highlighted.
Go for it.
Ultra slim and lightweight design, number one. Vibrant, super bright AMOLED display. Flagship level performance from that Snapdragon chip. Solid main camera quality. And surprisingly good battery life in that specific video test.
Okay, and the cons to balance that out.
Smaller battery that might struggle with heavy real-world use. No dedicated telephoto camera at all. Slower charging than the other premium models, potential for thermal throttling, and that glossy display without the anti-reflective coating.
Got it. A clear set of trade-offs.
So finally, who does the review say should actually buy this phone?
It seems targeted squarely at users who value that sleek, lightweight design above almost everything else. People willing to trade some camera versatility and maybe some battery endurance for maximum portability.
Maybe someone upgrading from an older, much clunkier phone. Or wanting something premium but still relatively compact feeling.
Exactly. But the review is clear. If you're a heavy user, a power user, or really into photography, especially zoom shots.
Look at the S25 Ultra.
Right. And if you're more budget conscious but still want a great Samsung flagship experience.
The S25 Plus probably makes more sense, offering similar core specs for less cash.
Precisely. So this deep dive, based on that review, really paints the S25 Edge as occupying a very specific, design-focused niche in the smartphone world.
It definitely does. And that brings us to our final question for you listening. Does the undeniable appeal, the allure of an incredibly thin and light phone, does that genuinely outweigh the potential downsides in battery life and camera versatility for your specific needs? How you actually use your phone day in, day out?
It's a good question.
Yeah, as tech keeps pushing for slimmer designs, where do you personally draw that line between the form factor, how it looks and feels, and the functionality that really matters for you? Definitely some food for thought there. Thanks for exploring the depth with us today.